Welcome to the iHemp Hour. My name is Dave Craybill with iHemp Michigan. iHemp Michigan's mission is to educate, inform, and promote the research, development, and cultivation of industrial hemp here in Michigan. iHemp Michigan advocates for wellness in people and the planet through hemp, and it begins with the farmer. So, Farmer Blaine, what's on your list today? Where do we want to start?
Well, one of the things we want to let everybody know about is that, and this email just came out today at 10:26 a.m. So, 2020 hemp growers and processor handlers in Michigan, the final report submission for the 2020 growing season.
Oh,
And I've been sitting back there. Somebody had asked if we were going to do that or not, and I didn't know, but yeah, here we are. So, so you have until the close of business February 5th. There should be about a 5 to 10 minute survey that you have to take. If you got a processor, handler, and a grower's license, you only have to fill out the survey one time. You don't have to do it twice for that. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show, but I just want to make everybody aware of the fact that you need to complete that process yet, and you have until February 5th to do that. So we're going to save the rest of the news kind of for the end of the show today. We've got Jody with us from HIA, and we're also going to be joined by Chad from Victory Hemp later on the show. So I think Dave will save any other news till later. Let's make sure we get this important stuff out. And Mike, how about you? You got anything important to share with us?
I do. From Michigan Marijuana Report, we had some interesting stories, and one of them was that a study came out that showed that Michigan recreational cannabis sales are up 482% in 2020, and this came from a group called Headset. They break it all down. I mean, of course, we started out, this adult use started out a year ago last December. So, low starting point, but certainly it rose up. We did almost $500 million in adult use recreational sales. And then there was the medical sales on top of that. So we're somewhere in the ballpark last year of around $750 million. 16% or so of that goes to various taxing authorities. So it's a nice money raiser for the states and the communities. And then the projection from the Marijuana Regulatory Agency this year is that Michigan will do somewhere in the ballpark of $1.5 billion in sales for adult use, and then next year about $3 billion. So it's really accelerating. The other thing I wanted to mention, it came out a report from from Marijuana Business Daily, that edibles as a category were the best performing in terms of, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, what the total amount of growth was. Edibles outperformed every other category nationally for cannabis. That would be pre-rolls and flower and all the rest. So I thought that would be something that our CBD friends here would be interested in hearing about, because people are really getting into that. You're also seeing more CBD going into vape cartridges, so that instead of just being a high, it's also, it does wonders for you, as we all know what CBD does. So lots of good news on that front.
Well, that's excellent. Yeah. I do know a farmer that has upgraded this year and is doing the vape cartridge stuff. So, and they're seeing a little uptick in their demand for that. So,
yeah, a lot of people like that. And there's all sorts of flavors out there. Everybody's doing their own variation and their own formulas. Of course, it all has to be approved by the MRA before they can market it. It's kind of like the way that craft beer evolves in Michigan, where everybody has their own little craft beer thing they do. And it's kind of the vape cartridges are going that way as well.
Yep. All right. Well, let's welcome our guest, Jody McGinness. Jody has the tough challenge of taking the reins of the HIA, and we're real thankful to have you part of our show today, Jody. So would you bring us up to speed on the HIA? What is the HIA about? What's your mission, and what do you see for the future?
Sure. Well, thanks, Dave, and everybody for having me on the show. I'm really glad to be here and talk with the iHemp Hour and understand a little bit more about the lay of the land in Michigan. BHIA, I can give you I'll give you the elevator speech, just because we've been around for 25 plus years, so I could it could go pretty long if I got into everything we are about, but really the HIA is, the first and oldest association serving the hemp industry nationally. For most of its existence, our core membership was really the sort of the beating heart of the activist hemp community. And then, with the Farm Bill and the rise of other organizations serving the same space, the HIA has been going through a transition period, to put it frankly, which I'm sort of, I like to think I'm coming in at the tail end of. I joined the organization this summer after about a 6-month interview process. Just a note to the strangeness of our times. All of that, I have yet to meet anybody in person. It's all been virtual interviews and virtual work since I started. But I joined the organization at a time when the industry was really just starting to take off nationally, and the organization's been focused on refitting and reforming itself to be what I would consider to be a professional advocacy organization and trade association built to serve the business to business and business consumer needs of the industry. So we focused on our mission. Our mission is to advance the hemp economy for the benefit of our members, the public, and the planet. And it's pretty simple, but it says a lot about what we stand for, which is, the value of hemp as a contributor to a more sustainable environment. And we want to see hemp products adopted in terms of all of the different uses that can have an environmentally positive impact. And we want to promote sustainable farming and regenerative agriculture as a solution to a lot of the wounds that the American heartland is suffering. We have a possibility with the hemp industry to sort of get right the things that the agricultural commodities ahead of us may have gotten wrong. So we can take steps now to make sure that hemp benefits small businesses and doesn't just become the purview of big agriculture like some other crops. And we can take steps now to make sure that the communities that were most beset and harmed by the injustices of prohibition have access to the entrepreneurial opportunities that come with a new industry taking root. So those are the things that we stand for. Market education is a big part of what we do. There's a lot of work to be done. When I talk to the other national organizations and our strategic partners and allies, I always say that there's far more work that needs to be done on behalf of this industry than there are good people and organizations ready to do it. And so whenever we can find opportunities to stand shoulder to shoulder in service of the industry, strategic partnerships are really fundamental to what we do. So, we're working with NIHC, National Industrial Hemp Council, to explore the potential of a National Hemp Checkoff program. We're strategic partners with the Hemp Roundtable as our advocacy partner. I do live outside of DC, but I've never been a lobbyist per se, so they are a real valuable partner in that front. And likewise, working with ASTM and APA to set standards for the industry, which is, on a national level, everything from coming up with a common vocabulary to talk about the same things the same way, to standards and practices for packaging and labeling and building the supply chain. So it's pretty exciting time for the organization. We've gone through a lot of changes and used this opportunity of the pandemic and the economic slowdown to sort of take a hard look inward, decide what we're about, what we stand for, and what are the things we're going to support. And we're sort of positioning ourselves to serve an industry that is going to take off when the economy does again. That's what I could cram into 3 minutes.
Yeah, that one point, it's so simple as the common language, right? The terminology we use as we're pushing out this education and making people aware of what this plant has to offer. It's important that we're all on the same page. So that's all worthy goals. And that social justice part is a hard thing to figure out, but it's something that's critical, to the people and the planet, right? So,
well, I mean, I don't really necessarily even think of it as social justice, more about, sort of self-healing as a nation, right? I mean, I think most reasonable people have come to the conclusion that cannabis prohibition has been a disaster and has been particularly disastrous for underserved communities and communities in of color throughout the country. And it's only right that if this plant gets to blossom within the nation, that some of the benefits of that go to heal those wounds. So I think it's more about justice, which is really just about what we are as a society. So I guess that's the social side. I'd say societal justice, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny thing is the people that are the really best growers are the ones that may or may not have a record and now are prohibited from growing because they have a record because they were in the black market in the old days, right?
Yeah.
So it's really crazy.
Yeah, we definitely support ending the 10-year felony ban. It's an institutional barrier to all those communities that were ravaged by prohibition. So I mean, that's a no-brainer, but there's a lot more we can do as an industry. We want to encourage good social responsibility behavior in our membership. We have members of all shapes and sizes, and we want to make sure that they're using fair hiring practices and that they're creating opportunities for advancement throughout their organization for people from all backgrounds. Because really, the story of America is one that is a story of the richness that can be created when so many different diverse perspectives come together for a common purpose. And that's how hemp is going to succeed if it follows that American model.
Now, Jody, you talked a little bit about, so I know there's a couple of things I want to make sure we touch on for sure today, but the checkoff program is one of those. Now, I think you have a link to the survey on your website.
The survey is now closed. We had it open for I think a little over 2 months actually, but it was an initial survey, sort of temperature taking on the idea to gauge interest. And what we're really most interested in right now is the discussion, because setting up a national checkoff program is something that is a project that is years in the making. We don't have any illusions about the readiness of this industry or the maturity of the industry at this point to be able to take on something like that. But we believe it's important now, not just to start talking about it, but to start educating farmers. Hemp producers need to understand the benefits of a program like this, of being a part of a federally sponsored marketing and research program, the types of return on investment they can expect to get for their contribution. So we need to start talking to people now. The survey is a good part of that, but we're also going to continue to hold sort of listening sessions, conversations, and webinars, because we want this to be as inclusive and really direct the industry in a way that serves the industry most effectively. So that means participation from as many different aspects of the industry as possible.
Yeah. So with other programs, checkoff programs, I'm assuming it worked. It's usually the first buyer of the crop then that would take a percentage, whatever that might be. And then that money gets funneled to a national, so to speak, organization then that would do the research and do the promotion and do the advertising and those kind of things. But those dollars can't be used for political, what are they, lobbyist kind of things.
Exactly right. It's the checkoff actually becomes its own distinct nonprofit organization with its own board formed from what needs to be a broad cross-section of the industry. So people representing different geography, different plant usage, different size of their businesses, and different demographic backgrounds. And that nonprofit is the governing agency, and it's governed by all the rules that nonprofits are. All the money is barred from being spent on political contributions, but likewise, they're subject to public reporting for their finances. They sort of have to show their work to make sure that everybody is clear on how their money is being spent. And then built into the program is every 5 years, a checkoff program is required to commission a study with a university to publicly present the return on investment to the different players within the. So if it is the producers who are making a contribution in this scenario, or if it turns out to be manufacturers or something else, they can have evidence that money is going to work and see how that return on investment is calculated. So it's built to be transparent. I think the best ones are the ones that are governed by the industries they serve, not by a few captured interests. The reality is with checkoff programs, with the national checkoff, we have to overcome skepticism that's both cultural in the hemp industry, which is, just a broadly independent streak that eschews the idea of national or federal government regulation or any sort of a mandate or contribution, and as well as, what I would characterize as a population of farmers that don't necessarily come from an agricultural background and don't have familiarity with government programs that help support so much of the broader agricultural community. So it's really about teaching the value, establishing some trust, and getting this community on board with the process, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard one because farmers are pretty independent. Farmers are in general pretty independent. So it'll be interesting to see how we can play. Will there be a chance at some point in time that you'll be able to share that survey information?
Oh yeah, we're actually working on putting together the results now for publication. So you can look for that shortly. We'll be putting out a press release in conjunction with NIHC and sharing that information with the USDA as well.
Excellent.
Let me ask you a political question. The whole issue of the THC level in hemp. Now the Democrats have the U.S. Senate because Kamala Harris has the tiebreaker. Do you think there's likelihood that the MORE Act is also floating around out there, but specifically for hemp, do you think there's a higher probability now with Democrats in control that they may raise that to 1% for THC levels for hemp?
I think I hesitate to speak too directly to the 1% question because I haven't heard any Democrats speak to that issue specifically on the record. What I can say is with single party control and new heads of regulatory agencies, we expect progress on a number of different fronts out of this new Congress. I would not be surprised at all if we manage to get THC cap increase in there as well, or along with other things that are expected. But there's a bill introduced in the House 8791, which would put CBD under nutritional supplement guidelines run by the FDA, which would be a huge boon to the food sector. We're likely to see some version of the Safe Banking Act legislation get attached to an omnibus bill. But there's a tremendous amount of potential for progress. I mean, just in terms of the environmental bill that the Biden administration is talking about, I mean, $2 trillion. With a bill that size, there ought to be a carve out, a tax cut available for every single carbon positive use of the hemp plant imaginable. I mean, that's how you invest in an industry and build demand at a macro level. You get your share of the big federal largesse that's coming. And with all the benefits that hemp has to the environment, that could really turn out to be the type of thing that drives some people to come up with a manufacturing solution and understand the value of plastics replacements or any one of the other positive environmental uses. So.
I know we've discussed in previous shows that the auto industry is now getting into hemp-based components. It's mostly on the higher level, like the BMWs and the Porsches right now, but eventually it'll come down to the Chevys and the Fords, I think. And I know Billy Ford is a big green kind of guy, as it were, and so I'm kind of waiting to see if Ford wants to get behind hemp-based components. That would be kind of interesting, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, the reality is that across all of the different manufacturing lines, there are big multinational interests that would like to see production capacity come on board in the United States. I mean, we are climate and culturally, we are positioned to be a hemp giant, and if we can create enough demand to create the production capacity, there's everybody from Wrangler to as you mentioned, car manufacturers. They're looking for a way to capitalize on hemp and for it to for the opportunity to arise. So yeah, I think we'll see in 2021 a huge upgrade in the fiber production capacity in this country. There are plants coming online. Some have been announced. Some are still just about to be announced that are going to really exponentially increase the ability to produce hemp fiber-based products in the United States. I think that is in the long run potentially going to rival grain and surpass CBD in terms of size.
Mhm.
So,
Uh,
go ahead, Dave, you got something?
Well, I was just going to mention, Levi's is putting a big push on their hemp fabric, but I imagine it's all imported from China currently.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they are interested in not doing that. For one thing, they'd like to be seen as, an American company. They have been in talks with different parts of the agriculture community to sort of test the ground for the possibilities here. So they are, I understand, introducing a new line of what they call cottonized hemp, or cottonized hemp genes that I believe they're going to be sourced initially from China, but the plan is to find a domestic source to build a plant. I mean, they actually want to be manufacturing that locally. So once we can demonstrate capacity and demonstrate that it can be done on a cost-effective basis, you're going to see big players moving into the space, just like you will see big soda and adult beverage manufacturers moving into the space on the food side.
Yeah. Seems like on the fabric side, the big challenge from the people that we're working with and talking to is the degumming process. Do you have any insight on that?
Well, if I had that solution, I'd be off and start my own company right now. But,
Come on.
I'll tell you, it's fascinating to talk to so many different entrepreneurs and innovators who, whether it's the decortization, or it's coming up with that cottonization process, or figuring out how to use all parts of the plant for different aspects. And there's so many people trying to innovate the solution. I don't know, I think we're going to see some sort of claims along those lines with the gum usage from a couple of players this year, and then we'll see if it pans out. I mean, it's always interesting to see what sinks and what floats when there's people trying new things.
Yeah, just real quick, guys. Received a call yesterday from an upper state New York paper manufacturer that figured out how to do 100% hemp paper. So we're starting to talk to them, and it's
Cool.
exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. This is all going to come at us really fast.
It will.
Takes a bit.
We've had a lot of interesting talks with people with the upcoming expo. Just been a lot of where this industry is headed and going, and there is certainly room for optimism for 2021 for sure. So
We just got to
There
get
is,
the
although
pandemic behind us, right? As soon as
Yeah.
everybody gets vaccinated and we get that under control, everything's going to open up quite a bit, I think.
well, I mean, there's definitely reason for optimism. I would say what we've been able to assess is that there's reason to worry in terms of the CBD oversupply. It is going to be much bigger crisis and take us probably all of 2021 to work through. And really, I'm worried that farmers are, thinking about planning based on, tolling contracts with manufacturers where they don't have a sale lined up at the end. And the reality is the oversupply is huge, and the very rosy projections about the growth of CBD, whether it's pandemic or because they were overly optimistic, they're not going to grow at the rate everybody thought they were. That sector is not going to grow over the next year anyway. And I just feel like there's an urgent need to sort of educate people thinking about planning for next season about the oversupply issue, to the point that if you don't have a sale locked up, you shouldn't be planting for CBD this year. That's really how.
Yeah, we certainly spend more time talking people out of growing than talking them into. I still have distillate from my 3,000 plants from 2019. So
Yeah, so where will I speak?
so I don't know, I'm not alone. Yeah.
Jody, let's talk a little bit about the DEA lawsuit that you guys have brought against them for their unnecessary meddling in the hemp industry, when it's been very clear that the Farm Bill meant them to be out of it. But so help us with where you guys are on that and what your thoughts are on that.
Sure. Happy to talk about that. I do need to throw this caveat out because I'll, by the time this hour is over, I'll have a couple of different emails from a couple of attorneys saying,
Don't talk
make sure
about
you guard your tongue. So we are plaintiff on 2 suits in federal court, one of which challenges the DEA's interim final rule on the 2018 Farm Bill, which, among other things, seeks to criminalize hemp extraction. The other doesn't challenge the rule per se, but it is a procedural challenge. And we're pursuing a dual track strategy legally because we believe it gives us the best chance to succeed. This is something that the Hemp Industries Association has done before. In around 2003, the DEA attempted to ban hemp oil, which was being imported for natural foods uses and self-care products. And it was our action challenging the DEA in court that established the legality of hemp oil. Likewise, we performed the same trick around 2017 when they tried to schedule CBD. And so we think that this is a good strategy and the right one for the industry, because like you all said, the intent of the 2018 Farm Bill was that hemp would be regulated like an agricultural commodity by the FDA, by the USDA, and that the DEA didn't have a role for rulemaking authority. So we feel very, first of all, positive that we have the logic of the law on our side. I mean, the Farm Bill is pretty explicit in legalizing hemp and all of its extracts and derivatives, et cetera. Likewise, we've already seen letters of support from the authors of the bill in the Senate. From our partners at the roundtable are working on an amicus brief from House members in support. In the most recent omnibus spending bill just passed. This wasn't part of the actual bill, but part of the report language. The Congress specifically directed the USDA and the FDA to come up with the regulations to fix this problem and get the DEA out. So all forces are sort of on our side, including the authors of the legislation. The judiciary exists for this reason. When Congress passes a law and then the executive implements it wrong, we as citizens go to the courts to say, no, that's not what Congress thought. And it's the court's job to interpret that. And so we're exercising that because that's the way that the mechanism the Constitution gives us. And like I said, beyond that, I can't get too much into strategy or talking specifically about the case, but that's sort of where we're coming from and why we feel good about it.
Jody, Dave, have you got HIA's website? Can you bring that up? And then let's make sure that we get in the chat how people can get to the website for HIA.
I'll pop that in here.
You put that in there, Jody? Yeah.
Let me ask you, Jody, if it might not be a question you want to answer, but I'll ask it anyway, because that's what I do. Why is the DEA so reefer madness crazy? I mean, their thinking still is from 80 years ago when all this stuff, prohibitions went up and things. Why has it not changed or evolved over time? I mean, is that something you care to deal with?
Well, frankly, I would love to expound on it, and I do have opinions and thoughts on that, but I can't speak to their motivations as a result of being a plaintiff on the case. So that would
that's what I figured. So perhaps another time.
Yeah, happy to share one-on-one or once the cases are wrapped up.
Let's get together on the victory.
I do think it's fair to say that the people who write this kind of thing for the DEA are career Justice Department attorneys. So I'll just say this: in my career, I've never run across an attorney who ever wrote an opinion that gave up any power. Like that's just
well, that's what I was thinking. It's more of a silo issue. It's like they're the DEA, so they're going to determine this because that's what they do, kind of thing, So
yeah, I mean, so that's all I can really say about that. But that's there again. That's not relevant to this case. It's just, I mean, that's who's doing the staffing, right?
Sure.
So we got the website up there a little bit. I see some of the national priorities you've got are raising the cap on the hemp to 1%, easing on the 15-day testing rule, regulating CBD as a nutrient supplement, protecting smokable hemp, which is getting to be some issues in some states for sure.
Yeah, it's a farmer's highest value.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a little pun there, Dave. Very good, So.
Well, not really. It's not marijuana, Mike.
So yeah.
And I know that you talked a little bit about restructuring of the membership tiers. And so
sure.
People can go to the site here and they can click on how how to learn how to be a member and what level you might fall in on that. Also, if you want to donate to the cause for them to help. Obviously, we all know that lawyers are not cheap. The DEA has unlimited amount of funds and lawyers to work with this. So if any of you want to help support that cause, then that's available there too as well. So
I appreciate you saying that. Just as an added note, I've dropped my email address into the chat for anybody who'd like to just reach out and talk about the HIA, what we're doing, membership, or share your perspective on the hemp industry or the sort of challenges and opportunities ahead. I'd love to have a conversation.
So, Jody, I know your background a little bit too is with helping. We talked earlier when you and I first talked about things about how is the best way for us as growers, processors, hemp supporters. What is the best way for us to be able to contact our representatives and make our desires known?
Well, if there's a specific issue that you're having, and if you're talking about speaking with your senators or Congress people about a national hemp issue, I would invite you to reach out to me first, because for one thing, I'll be able to connect you with some experts who can sort of make sure that you're talking to the right person at the right time. So through our partnership with US Hemp Roundtable, and they're a tremendous advocacy partner, we've done citizen lobby training for members, where we have gotten them in contact with aides in their own congressperson's office. And we know that from long experience in activism that, hearing the opinions of job creators and business people from their own districts is the most important thing or most influential thing that we have to offer, aside from just big chunks of cash at parties, right? I mean, you can advocate by letting people hear from their constituents, or you can throw them really big fancy parties, and so we've got members, and so reach out to us so we can help make that connection for you, so that we can arm you with some talking points so that you don't fly blind. I mean, if you want to talk to somebody, we might be able to get that arranged, but you don't want to go in there and sort of not know what you want to say. So we want to help you be prepared to be effective as an advocate as well. So anytime we can assist with that, we're happy to do it. We've got a great ally in Vote Hemp as well, and they have online resources to help you locate your legislator. They have important online petitions you can sign, including one for raising the THC cap. Likewise with the US Hemp Roundtable. Please, I believe it's ushrt.org is their website. And they've got similar resources for advocacy, where you can just plug in your information. You can find out about ongoing pieces of legislation. And finally, I would encourage you to try and support organizations like the HIA. One of the things that I personally do is every couple of weeks, I put out an email to all of our members that gives them an update on every piece of significant hemp legislation nationally that's out there. It says this is what's going on with the bill, these are the prospects, this is how you can contribute to the effort, and talks about national policy issues from our perspective, from really fed by the sort of grassroots feedback that I get, and our staff and our leadership gets in our conversations with our members and constituents. So.
Great, well, I appreciate that. So there's a number of different, I don't know if one's more important than others right now, but should we try to put some more emphasis on the 1878? Is that the bill that's
791? No, I think it's 8791 if I got my digits unscrambled. But
so I turn things backwards all the time. So.
We're working the bill was only introduced a couple of months ago, and has since, even in the midst of everything else, continued to gain co-sponsors pretty steadily. So if you go to the US Hemp Roundtable website, this is one of their featured issues. You can find out where your congressperson or your senators stand. Click right there to find a link to send them an email, or find their contact information from that website. So, I mean, as an industry, we have lots of different priorities, and we can't accomplish everything at once, and some things will come sooner than others. What I would say is, if you have the opportunity to speak your case, make your case for why hemp is important to you as a constituent, to your legislator, even if you don't have a specific issue, even if it's not vote for this bill or support this thing, tell them about hemp in their community and how it affects your business, and let them understand that it's valuable. I mean, an email telling them why an issue is important is just as important as an email saying, please vote yes on this bill. So even if you don't have a specific issue in mind to support, it's important that your leaders understand hemp is valuable to you, and what you can do to influence them is talk to them.
What do you see going forward for this year? Any new challenges that you see in the crystal ball, so to speak, that we need to be prepared for?
Well, like I said, I've been saying I'm very optimistic on a number of fronts for the industry. A lot has to do with sort of macroeconomic factors that are beyond the industry's control. But that said, even in the midst of all of these headwinds, we've seen reasons to be encouraged. For all the reasons I mentioned legislatively, I think we'll see regulatory progress on a number of fronts, and some improvements in the way hemp is regulated nationally. I think the growth of fiber capacity is going to be part of the story for 2021. Working through the CBD oversupply, I mean, I can't emphasize enough how how vital it is that people don't try to plant CBD this year unless they've got a buyer on the end locked up. It's really going to be, I think, a story that parallels the story of the country. The sooner the vaccination takes effect and people can start getting out and doing regular business, the sooner all of the positive things that are pointing in hemp's direction can start taking hold. So it'll be an exciting year, just hopefully more exciting in a positive way than the one that preceded it.
Well, Jody, we certainly appreciate your time today, and we're going to work with you as we move forward in this hemp industry. I know that you've got the desire, certainly, of all the growers and processors to make this thing work, and we appreciate the hard work you guys have been doing so far. And again, the website's there for the HIA.org. You can go there and find out much more about it, how to become a member, also maybe how to help donate or support the cause here a little bit, because we know that lawyering up ain't cheap. That's for sure. Just like hemp ain't easy, lawyering up ain't cheap. That's for sure. So
thanks very much, Blaine, Dave, Mike. I really appreciate you guys having me.
Okay.
Pleasure.
All right.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I'll drop off and let Chad join now. Is that the plan?
Yeah.
You're welcome to stick around, because at the end you can
You know,
see
you had to leave at one.
the hemper, the best part of the show.
Oh yeah, that's the best part of
Yeah.
the show. You don't want to miss that. So.
All right, I'll hang out. I'll just I'll stick around then.
Hang out. Yeah.
Thanks, Jody. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, Chad, how you doing?
I'm good, Jody. How about yourself?
Great.
Funny,
Good to see you.
funny bumping into you in the halls of campus.
Yeah, it's a small virtual world we live in.
Yeah.
Well,
How's everyone else doing?
We wanted to bring Chad in today for Victory Hemp. We'll let him give a little bit about his background, but what piqued my interest the other day was there's a news little article that came out about financing U.S. regenerative hemp grain production. And it also touches on one of our very own members and growers here in the state, and that's Mark Vollmer. And they've got a I don't know if it was a campaign, but it's an opportunity for people to help support the hemp industry and to help get some payment to farmers, and also maybe make a little bit in return. There's an interest rate. This is a loan program with a return rate of 6% on it, which is a little better than you can do in your money market. So if it's just sitting there, maybe we can help some people along the line and do that. So Chad, I'm going to let you maybe bring up everybody up to speed on what we're talking about totally.
Yeah, sure. No, thank you guys for shining a spotlight on what we're doing. It's, the hemp industry is one of those places where it's going to take a village to raise a child, and getting all our friends in the hemp world to kind of all carry water as we try to get this industry up and on its feet. One of the challenges that everyone faces, I don't care who it is in the space, is getting financed, and that's all the way from the supply chain to the agro-processors that are bringing these products to market. The banking industry is, I think regulations, a lot of the work that the HIA, Jody and his team have done, and other advocacy organizations have done to educate legislators and the laws that have been put in place to give the banking industry some cover and some understanding that this is a commodity that's legal, and is ready for prime time commoditization, is lagging, right? And one of the challenges that we face is obviously education. But what are the point I think that's most troubling is we still have a lack of transparency, market pricing transparency for products in the market, and so bankers are going to hide behind the lack of understanding or the lack of transparency to say, hey, look, we don't want to get involved in financing. So when that's the case, where do farmers go? Where do agri-processors go to build their businesses? Because a lot of our expenses come before revenue, and there's no more acute example of that as than we see as in farming economics. Farmers have to grow all of they have to have all their inputs, their seed costs, their input costs, their labor costs are all ahead of when they finally get to harvest, condition, and get that call from the agri-processor for the commodity that they've grown. And so financing that requires some sort of bridge. Some farmers are fortunate enough to be able to cover it internally and themselves, and then others have to rely on a line of credit that they get from the bank. And so in our case with the Volmars, we contracted upwards of 400 acres of organic production with the Volmars. They did a tremendous job getting the crop in the ground, getting a stand established, getting quality grain that passed all the C of A's and met spec in the bins. And we've been pulling it month by month since October. We've been processing it into oil that goes to companies like Dr. Bronner's, which we all use to keep ourselves clean, I hope. And the banker, when they said, hey, look, we have all this grain, we'd like to access our line of credit to start buying seed for the next planting season and paying down some of our obligations in our farmland leases, said, you know what, we saw so many problems with contracts being walked away from with your neighbors that had grown CBD, that we're not honoring any hemp contracts, and so they looked at the victory contracts as about as valuable as the paper that they were written on, even though we had had pulled a couple loads, and we continue to pull loads and pay for them month by month. But we needed to figure a way to get the Volmars covered for all the grain that they grew, so they could continue with their meeting their obligations through the winter, that exceeded the amount of our forecasted purchases in the short term, right? So we plan, and all of our contracts reflect the fact that we have the ability to purchase or call for that grain that they've grown for us all the way until the next harvest, month by month. We have them on a schedule. And so we had to put a financing mechanism in place in order to get that done. And we said, let's bring it to the people. Let's democratically go about raising capital. Everyone can participate, and the banks don't want to play that game. Let's let people make money on our money. And so we found Steward. Steward is a tremendous platform. I would encourage anyone to, who has a project or has some gap funding, which is a major quotient of every farmer's financial picture. There's always some gap funding that's needed. You can put, all sorts of projects on there, and people that are interested in participating in financing the regenerative agriculture or healthy agriculture, however you want to refer to it, the market can make some money and support that. The organic industry really faced a lot of headwind back when the USDA started certifying farms and products from producers. Banks, again, back in when that all happened, said, we don't understand what organic markets are. We don't understand the costs associated with organic markets. We see, a lot of them said, we're not interested in supporting weed farmers. And when I say weed, I'm talking about the weeds that are noxious to and a nuisance to to crops. They said, we're not interested in supporting weed farmers. And so financial vehicles weren't available for those farmers. So that really slowed down and stymied the growth of the organic market. And so farmers had to get really creative. And so that's what we're doing here again, is we're getting creative about how to finance this market. I think if you're in the hemp industry, you probably haven't, you understand that it's important to get really creative in how you're going to finance this business. And this is just an area or I should say the Steward platform is just tremendous for us to be able to talk about what we're doing and reach out to our friends and our family and our constituents and people who just believe in the same things we do, to surmount a solution that's going to help the farmers. So yeah, so it's a 6% loan is the return. It's annualized. Amortized over the life of the loan, which is an 18-month loan. P&I is paid out monthly. The loan begins 90 days from when we settle that loan. So we have, I think we're about to enter into a 30-day period where we have to raise all the capital for that $170,000. We've raised almost 50,000 of the amount so far. So I don't see us, and they're just making the loan public today or tomorrow. So I think we're in a really good way to oversubscribe on this loan. And so yeah, so we'd encourage all your listeners and yourselves, Dave, Jody, Mike, Blaine, feel free to jump in, and we'll see here if it's live yet. I can see you going to the gosteward.com website. That's terrific. Thanks for pulling that up.
I thought I'd share that. I have your website queued up too.
Yep, terrific. That's great. And as I said, I'm not sure whether or not the loan is live yet, but it will be shortly. Yep, doesn't look like they put it up yet, but it should be up live later. So right now we're in a private funding, and so the $50,000 that we've raised so far has just been from our network, has been from our friends in the hemp industry. A lot of our current investors have already kind of jumped in to help fund that loan. And yeah, anyone wants to share or put money in themselves, we encourage you to do so. And I would encourage anyone who goes to the website, here's one of the kind of sidebar stories, if I got another second.
Mhm.
Yep.
And take a look at some of the past projects. I mean, the past projects are amazing. And one thing that's going to jump out to you is there's a lot of hemp projects on there. So I think that Steward is just a tremendous platform for our industry to raise financing. The group at East Fork Cultivars has raised a few $100,000 on this platform, and they continue to pay down their loans. So there's just so many great projects, I think, to get excited about. And this is a great resource for our entire industry to take advantage of. So I want to give it up to the team at Steward. But one of the funny things, this is kind of like the ironic, this is the point on the exclamation, is that when you go to donate, or I'm sorry, not donate, but when you go to invest in this project, what you'll get is a message at the bottom of the page where you're donating that says that because of hemp banking regulations, they're unable to receive ACH investments, and so you have to go and do a wire transaction, which, if you're investing a decent amount of capital, okay, the $30 wire transaction fee, which most of us encounter with our personal banks, is surmountable. But for someone who wants to put in, the de minimis amount of $100, which we encourage and we embrace and we celebrate, there's been these campaigns again are it takes a village to raise a child. We love those $100 amounts, but a $30 fee associated with a 6% interest rate, you're losing money on your loan. And so that's one of the challenges that I think we face as an industry is again, it really kind of it makes our window narrower. So what I would do is I would encourage everyone, despite the fact that it's a little bit more paperwork, is just send in a check. It doesn't cost you any money that way. They give you an address. You just click a link in the process, asking for information to be sent to check, and you can avoid the fees, and be signed up for and invest in a loan that way. I think that's kind of the old school way of doing it. But it's going to make sure that you're not paying that egregious wire fee that most would be able to avoid, had the banking regulations that Stuart is working with be able to accept the ACH fee. So kind of another way that you just have to get creative, and in this way of getting creative, we got to rely on paper written checks.
Well, it's crazy, right? They they won't let you do ACH, but they'll take a check. Same,
Yeah.
same vehicle, same everything, but it's all right. Well,
Yeah.
we got ways around it. That's fine. We can
Yeah.
do that. So
Yeah.
so we encourage people to take a look at this and see. Again, it's a loan, so you need to be concerned, a little bit about looking at all the details of it. Make sure you're comfortable with it.
Yep.
And have you worked with Stuart on any other projects, or is this the first one?
No, this is our first, and I would say the team has been ultra responsive. They work really quickly. They're very flexible. We nitpicked little bits and pieces of how we wanted the project to look, and I mean, we must have gone through 15 revisions. We gotta, this is something that we want to get right before we release it to the world. And they've just been really patient with us, and turn our requests around in the day in most cases. They answer questions that we have that are related to that are directly found on their FAQs of the website, which I'm sure annoys the heck out of them when we're asking questions that you can just go, find for yourself if you do a little bit of research. But they've just been an awesome group to work with. I think it's again, as I said, it's a critical tool not only for the hemp industry but for farmers in general. So talking about the project and supporting things that we all kind of rally around, it's a great platform.
Well, thanks, Chad. Thanks for having a few minutes to share that with us today, and we'll get more information up on the website. And certainly, again, we're helping we're helping the cause here. We're helping a homeboy.
Thank you, Blaine. Appreciate you guys shedding the light on it.
We appreciate that very much. So, all right.
You want to stick around for the Hemperor too, Chad. So.
All right. I'm here. You got me.
All right. Well, let's see. Just with a little bit of time, we're going to kind of some of the news we're just not going to cover today. But again, I want to emphasize the fact that for Michigan growers, you have until February the 5th in order to complete your survey of your 2020 growing season. That's for growers and processors and handlers. Again, if you have both licenses, you only have to complete one survey to be able to complete that requirement. So I'm sure there'll be more. They'll probably be sending something out as well, but let's get on that. Let's get that taken care of for them. February 5th, they'll come here just as soon as you quick. And they say it's only about a 5 or 10 minute survey. So last year it wasn't too painful. I know that.
I did mine already this morning. It took me 2 minutes. Good.
All right.
Take it easy.
Let's talk about one of the requirements that seems to be coming up in other states too, and that's getting your fingerprints done. If anybody's having problems with that, there are different ways to do it, but I'm going to tell you a real simple way that it happened for me, and I think it can happen for most people. I contacted my local UPS store, and the one in Grand Haven here, they worked with a company called Sterling Identity. I went online, $49. Filled out the little thing. They sent me a QR code. I went down to the store, got my fingerprints done, got everything done. Literally, it was a 20-minute project. That includes driving there and back. Now, not all UPS stores do this, so you got to check. But my point here is that there are services online that you can get this done with that is acceptable, even though when the printout comes, it says it's not used for licensing. The Michigan Department of Agriculture, the MDART, has verified that they will accept this. You don't have to go to Ann Arbor, which is the only post office in Michigan that will do them and send them in. So other ways to do that. If you got more questions, let us know. And I think we have some information up on the site as well on how to do that. So don't make that an overburdensome process for yourself to get that completed if you're doing that. Let's see. Next week, the show will be the iHemp hour is going to be talking about the Midwest iHemp Expo, which is coming up. I'm really excited about that. We have got a great lineup of speakers. If you go to Midwest ihempexpo.com, we're even still adding things because we're still getting some things in there. But great 2-day event with a super masquerade party for the Hempy Awards Saturday. That's going to start at 6:30 with the social part. And I think right now we've got something lined up for a special live guest appearance.
Yeah, don't spoil it. Special guest.
It'll be fun for that one for sure.
Yep.
It's a fun time for everybody to relax and maybe bring in your favorite beverage or whatever you might have that evening. You want to get up to the. Well, it's not cozy by the fireplace, but I guess it's cozy by the PC light. I guess we'll call it your hemp light. I guess
The glow of the LED light. Yes.
Yeah, we had a great time this last Saturday with the judges completing that process, and it'll be the first of the awards that we're going to be doing for the Hempies, and we'll be continuing that on. So you won't want to miss that. It'll be a fun show for everybody for sure. And then the following week after that, Houston's first Black-owned distillery breaks ground with hemp vodka.
Ooh.
So, some people see the glass as half full. Some people see it half empty. I say if
As long as it's got ice in it, right?
if it doesn't have vodka in it, who really cares what's in it, right? So anyway,
We incidentally used to supply those guys. Those guys, and that was one of the fringe benefits of working in this industry, right? You supply these guys and you get a little taste of the product early on.
Yeah.
It's great. Oh, it's great stuff.
Yeah, see, we can't get it here in Michigan, so I got to have somebody ship it to me so I can taste it, I guess. So yeah.
Hint.
Yeah.
Did it come out class that way? Did it pretty good? So let's see what else. Okay, well, we want to be mindful of everybody's time. So I
Blaine,
think what's up?
one thing I just want to mention, the deadline for exhibitors for the expo is tomorrow. So if anyone, there's a last chance opportunity. We do have, I've got enough, so that's okay. But if you want in to play, you have an opportunity to jump in and play. And, it's coming together really well. Everybody's playing nice. So.
And you also might want to mention that for the folks that want to watch it virtually, that all this stuff's going to be recorded. And so if it's so much to consume in a short period of time, but it'll be available for the remainder of this year, if you want to go back and refresh or that sort of thing.
Yep.
So we'll have over 20 hours of recorded material from this show, or from the expo. So
not counting the Hempies Awards.
that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, are that time? Are we okay? Here we go. So the Hemperor.
Everybody wants one of those hats now, by the way.
That's,
Maybe I should market it. Maybe I should. So
Yeah.
so for Jody and Chad. So at the end of the show, we kind of do a little recipe is what this is all about. So we do a little recipe sharing. So today we're going to have carrot ginger soup today.
Ooh.
Sounds really fun. I like a little bit of ginger, so that's kind of nice. So I've got this from the cookbook. Let me go get it. I can show you the hemp nut cookbook. There we go. Can you see that?
Oh yeah.
So that's where I get a lot of my
Shout out to
recipes from.
Richard.
Yeah, they do a great job with their stuff for sure. So of course, we need to help them a little bit when they redo their menus to change some of the stuff, because on this particular one, they call for a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil, which we always change to
hemp
seed oil. Absolutely.
Do you have one of those bottles right there, Blaine?
Down on the farm, I believe, sells that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wrong.
Oh my God, you missed your opportunity.
It always is my opportunity, but we won't worry about that. So today, but so we have one red onion diced, 2 cloves of garlic, sea salt, tablespoons of grated fresh ginger, juice extracted, 1 tablespoon. My lovely assistant just brought me
Oh, shameless
As
plug.
you
I
can see,
like
we've
it.
been
You got that
using
down.
ours
Yeah.
quite a
Oh,
bit,
been
yeah.
used too. I like it. Yeah.
that one. We use ours quite often. We do.
Uh-huh.
Let's see, 1 cup peeled and diced butternut squash, 2 cups filtered water, half a cup of shelled hemp seeds. I always like to go a little heavier on that myself, and 1 to 2 scallions, thin slicely on the diagonal. So the recipes are all there. We'll have it up on the website, but you put it all in the pot and simmer it up, and And it sounds like it's going to be a great thing. We're going to
Oh, it looks good. Yeah.
some of our recipes up from the past
Yeah.
show.
Here's
Yeah.
some of our past recipes.
There's another ginger hemp smoothie. That's another good one too. Yeah. So anyway, so we appreciate everybody again joining us for every week that we do this. We had some great guests. Chad, we appreciate your coming on and talking about this. Remember that if you look at this through the Stewart raising this funds, it's helping a local farmer here in Michigan. So we really want to have people take a look at that and see if they can help them out.